What's up, world? It's me, Nez. Welcome to Nez Telly. Thank you so much for coming by to hear suggestions on books that you could read. Thanks for checking up, and we're still in our African theme month. The way I'm looking at this, the book selection I'm looking at is looking like I'm gonna have to take up more than 1 month. But I don't know. I'm not gonna think about that now. I'm just going to keep reading and keep going. Today I'm reading a classic. When I say classic book. This book was written in 1958, right, by Chinua Achebe, and this book is considered, this was his first book ever, and this was considered his masterpiece till he died. He died in 2013 at the age of 85 or 83, I don't remember now. But this book is called Things Fall Apart. I've always been curious about this book. Not I've always been curious, like I don't even know what made me to even read this book. I just thought, okay, I'm doing African literature. I have some other African literature in the house. But I just thought, this book self, because I never actually read it. It was a book that was read in literature back in school, but I didn't read it. Like my set did not read it, another set read it, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where we were. And the movie, I think that was done by BBC some many years ago. I'm sorry. But what is making noise? Anyway, I'll continue, sorry. So basically the book was okay. Yeah, it was made into a movie, or I think a series, when we're back in when we're kids. It was, I think it was done by BBC, and it was played by the famous Peter Doche, right? Then we called it Okonkwo's Company. I'm not sure what that was about. Anyway, this book was basically about what life became after the West, after the white man came into the shores of Okonkwo's life. Okonkwo was the lead role, so it was basically about his life, his family, the clan, his kingsmen, what life was like for them as a community. And I think that one of the major things I think we should miss a lot, if we had an idea what life was like before, is the community, the sense of community. Even those that were not, as in the way everybody took out time to try and take care of each other in everywhere possible. A lot of the, like, this book was shared into 3 parts, right? The most of it was a part 1. Part 1 was basically talking about what their life was like, the way they handled disputes, burials, the markets, the way they shared food, the way they actually lived, like even things like when babies were born, marriages, their New Year festival, the wrestling matches or wrestling festivals, those kind of things. It was part of the New Year festival. So all those kind of things, how cool life was until the white men came and just there, and it was just so interesting because they came with this religion, which we know now as Christianity. They came with this religion. They're white. They called it the white man's religion. That really annoyed, pissed Okonkwo off a lot, right? Because they came with this religion to one other community, and the people in the community, they went to visit their oracle, and the oracle said that this man was going to destroy your lifestyle, is going to destroy you, which was true. But these people killed the white man, and then 3 other white men came, saw what happened, then went and brought a whole bunch of soldiers and killed everybody in the village. So it's very contradictory, because like we're talking of Christians here, they're supposed to be missionaries, and they came and they were killing people. It's just one of those interesting things. But it makes me want to ask several questions. Sadly, none of my parents are alive. None of my husband's parents are alive. So I want to ask them things like, what was their grandparents like? Where did their grandparents live? What was their life like? Because think about it, it hasn't actually been that long. Like we're talking of like late 18th century. Is that what it's called? Like 1800, like late that time. Let's say from 1870 to like, let's say 1930, thereabout. That's kind of where I think a lot of these things lie. It's just like the book is when I call it a cultural expose, I hope I'm using the right word. Like, it's an exposure of what culture was like for a good portion of the Igbos. There was no king. That was another thing the white man couldn't understand. They wanted one person that is in charge, that they can talk to and tell them, influence your people to do things. That couldn't really happen in the East because there was no king. There was just a whole bunch of title givers, and everybody took care of everybody. There was no king. There were elders, people that had been able to do well for themselves. And the trade then was like things like farming. They traded yam for oil, cocoyam for stuff like that. It's a really good book, honestly. This book is read all over the world. Apparently a lot of universities around the world read this book now, and I don't know how else I can sell this book to you, but I really think that you should try and read it. I think there's just a lot of conversations that we can have about this particular book, if we can just sit down and read it. And I imagine a lot of you have already read it. So if you have, let me know what you think about the book. I think one of the things that I was looking for when I started reading this book was, what was the name of the title? What was the point to the title? Like, Things Fall Apart. What did that mean? Things fell apart when the white men came. Like, basically, the statement was used at the point where this white man had come with his church. The next thing, they set up a courthouse, and then they brought a store. Yes. By the time they brought a store, suddenly the price of palm oil rose like by, I think he said like 15%. No, by 15 times. The price of yam and oil rose by 15%, and everything has fallen apart. And I was like, wow, that's it. Things fell apart when those people came. That's what this book was about. Chinua Achebe, I wish he was somebody like, he's late now, but I wish he was someone that when he was alive I met. Like he's a very insightful man. Like a lot of the things that he talked about here are things that I want to. And but basically it follows the life of a man called Okonkwo. So it's not like it's just him just talking about random things like that. It's about a particular man's life, his belief, he's holding on to his sense of self, his sense of identity, which was his culture. He was married to 3 wives. Back then, the Igbo men, the rich men that had a lot of yams, actually. It was yam that was the money. They had cowries, but someone that had a lot of yams was considered a rich man. You build several huts and you marry as many wives as you can. So, those kind of things. Have several children. You can take care of all of them. Everybody will gather, go and farm, come out and do stuff. Then, the idea of roles, yeah, that was another thing. Another thing I also found very interesting was the idea of roles. The men pounded the yam. That was interesting. The men pounded the yam. When a child, like one of the Okonkwo's daughter was sick one time, and the wife that had that particular daughter came and asked him to go and get the medicine that they needed. Then it was things like flowers that were brewed, and the child would inhale it and they would get better. They had something called Iba. Iba is actually what we called malaria when we were kids. So now I'm wondering whether it's the same thing. Anyway, this book is beautiful. I hope that somehow I've convinced you that this book is worth picking up, or at least is worth thinking about. It's available on YouTube, right? The book is available. Like 3 or 4 people have audible versions of this on YouTube. If you cannot sit down and listen to a 6-hour book, listen to people talk about the book. This book has been celebrated over and over. I thought it was written since 1950 something. So it's been celebrated over and over and over and over again. And it's been written even into movies. So just find out what you can about this book. I think this book is actually it's a beautiful, it's a nice way of having insight into what used to be. And because when you know where you're from, it's easier for you to understand why you are the way you are. So if you can just try and find out a little bit, I just really wish this book would keep quiet. It's driving me crazy. Anyway, thank you so much for checking up. Shoot me a like if you haven't. I am so sorry for the noise. Please forgive me. And shoot me a like if you haven't. Then please leave a comment about what you think about the word Things Fall Apart, and then about Chinua Achebe in general. And spread the word to everybody else. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for checking up. Have fun. Bye-bye now.